What's going on, everybody? It's your boys from the PokeLads podcast, the brand new Pokemon podcast where we talk about all things Pokemon and where we ask the question, or answer the question, I should say, who would you rather be in bed with, Lopunny, Gardevoir,
Oh
or
my god.
Vaporeon?
That's how we're starting out the first episode.
Yeah. So
Real
today
Pokemon
I'm
fans,
here.
real Pokemon fans, real gentlemen of the community know what this question's about, apparently. So, not me.
Yeah,
I'm a married man, so I'm not going to answer that
that's
question.
fine. You could have a fantasy. Who would you choose, Damien?
Wait, what were the options again?
Gardevoir, Lopunny, or Vaporeon? Who would you rather sleep with?
Low punny. I might be basic for that,
Lopunny?
but probably low penny. Yeah.
What a freak.
Okay, what about you, dude? I can't be the only one here.
Huh?
What would you do?
I would
can't be
choose
the only one here.
Vaporeon. Vaporeon? No, Gardevoir. Gardevoir. Because Gardevoir is somebody you could marry. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, like
Gardevoir will make love to you.
Oh, all right. Well, anyways.
Anyway, and again, this is the first episode of the PokeLads podcast. I'm your host, Adrian, aka Does Size Matter LOL, on TCG Live and on Twitch. And I'm here with my co-host. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Damien, otherwise known as SneakerDad93 on TCG Live. How's it going?
All right. So, Damien, why don't you lead us off with the conversation then?
You and I have been talking about this for some time. You and I love Pokemon. Adrian's actually the one who dragged me back into playing trading card games, convincing me that Pokemon is the least expensive trading card game to get back into competitively. And then before you know it, I'm hooked. I got a lot of stuff that I didn't think I'd be buying as an adult in my 30s with a child. But regardless, here we are.
I mean, that's what we do as millennials. We purchase things from our childhood in order to heal past trauma, right? But aside from that, Pokemon's a cool game. I feel like for me, like I've loved like the original Pokemon. I've loved like the video games. When I was younger, I definitely collected like the cards too. And I think it was like one of the few people like around my age back at that time that actually knew how to play the game. And it was like technically my first TCG, even though I didn't play it in like tournaments and stuff like that when I was younger. I was definitely into other TCGs, like Yu-Gi-Oh was like my main one. And that's where I got like competitive taste of what a TCG could be. And then being able to pick up like Pokemon TCG in the last like maybe year or two has been really awesome. Like it's been a really fun hobby. And it's been scratching that itch, and it's budget friendly, right? So happy to start this podcast and really get to talk about something that's still new to the both of us, but something that we're really passionate about.
I am also a longtime Pokemon fan. I think the first Pokemon game I played, my friend lent me her Game Boy Color, and it was Pokemon Crystal. So that was the first Pokemon game I ever like tried. It's like the Suicune, the second generation one. So there's like Silver, Gold, and then Crystal was the third version or iteration of the second generation to release. And then I remember that there was the specific Pokemon trading card video game where you actually played like the Game Boy version of like what the card game is like. I collected the cards like a little bit. Didn't get to like collect a lot of it growing up because we didn't really have that much money growing up for me to be able to have a hobby like that. But like we talk about, just healing my inner child now, just being able to have the adult money to get the things I didn't get to have as a kid. And I've played like every generation since Pokemon's released. I think the only game I did not play was Legends of Arceus. That generation, the Hisuian generation. But outside of that, like, even the more recent ones, Scarlet Violet, White Black, Sun and Moon, like I've played every single version. On that topic, like if I were to ask you, Adrian, like what, just to give our audience like a little bit of understanding of like a little bit more of who we are as the hosts and as people, what would you say was your favorite generation or your favorite like Pokemon game to play if you were to pick one or the other?
Yeah, I think for me, it's funny that you say like you started off with like the Gen 2 games. I started off with the Gen 1 games. I had Pokemon Blue and then I had Pokemon Yellow. I think Pokemon Yellow would be the one that probably resonates with me the most on a nostalgic level, just because like it followed the anime more than the actual like original games. Like instead of playing as Red, you were actually playing as Ash, which was pretty cool. But overall, like my favorite game in generation, and like I'll stick by this till the day I die, is definitely Gen 3. So the Hoenn region with like Torchic and Mudkip and
Yeah, dude.
whatchamacallit,
Hell
yeah.
yeah, dude.
And Trico. I think that's probably pound for pound the best story that I've ever played. I know a lot of people say like Black and Black 2, White and White 2 have really good stories, which I played both. But I still think that Generation 3 had the best story overall. And had the best looking like legendaries overall. Like I still think like Groudon, Rayquaza, and Kyogre are still like the best looking Pokemon. And like we had something that was Mewtwo esque in Deoxys and something that was Mew esque
Mm,
in Jirachi. I never got to play Emerald. I know like it expanded upon the Hoenn region even more, but I think yeah, Pokemon Ruby was definitely like my favorite overall. And I remember my mom pre-ordering it when I was younger, and then when you would pre-order it, they gave you this like holographic Groudon coin, and it was gold, and then on the inside of the coin was like a 3D like green looking Groudon. I wish I kept that to this day. I could use it as like a token for the TCG, but I remember specifically being super psyched about it. Um, and yeah, it was a cool like upgrade from the Gen 2 graphics as well, from going from like 8-bit to something a little bit higher. And just like, being able to see like a character like May, the like her sprite was in Gen 3 and stuff like that.
hmm
And then the double battles was a new thing too. So
Oh, double
yeah, I'm going
battles.
on a
Yeah,
little
that
bit
was
of
the
like a
first time.
soapbox like thing. Yeah.
No, you're right. I mean, like honestly, like I kind of have the same answer as you. Where like Gen 2 is like the nostalgia factor for me because that's where I got introduced to playing Pokemon. But I really do think that like that something about that third generation where like everything was just clean, just made sense. Like double battles being introduced for like the first time, I felt like that was kind of like a really pivotal moment because I feel like yes, there's other forms of competitive like for Pokemon in the VGC space, but I feel like all you really watch as far as that is double battles now, and that's where it started in that generation. Um, if you're to pick like a favorite starter or favorite Pokemon, and let's not limit it to starters. What would be your favorite Pokemon? Like you would say, if you were to have one come to the top of your head.
Miltank.
Miltank. So our
Miltank.
cover
'Cause-
art.
Miltank. You know why? Because it has nipples.
Okay. Let's make sure we put like the rated R tag or something when we're doing that. We're putting
And they're long.
the
And
stop.
also like
Okay.
when it uses milk drink, what do you think happens?
Stop.
It sucks on its own nipples.
Stop.
That's why Miltank is awesome. It feeds itself and it heals itself.
Oh my
And
gosh.
rollout is really, really strong.
I'll agree with the rollout part. Facing Whitney with her Miltank was a intense thing to go through. But
Did I mention it has 4 nipples?
moving on.
I like
um,
Miltank.
I think for me, my favorite Pokemon is Typhlosion. Like Adrian knows about that about me. I have a Typhlosion. Like my friend Louis gifted me like a Typhlosion like art that he actually painted himself. I have it in my room in the background because again, it's just that nostalgia factor from Gen 2. Um, but yeah, so I guess let's talk like TCG as far as just like what's been going on in the world. I know that you've been watching the European Championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, as far as for like how the tournament is going, currently right now there's like some top meta decks. Like everyone expecting Dragapult to be really popular. Lugia is trying to make a last stand before the rotation sets out. It also just recently got a recent power up with Regigigas being added with the Prismatic Evolution set. So yeah, I thought we'd talk a little bit about, or rather, I'll pass it off to Adrian because he does a really good job of like paying attention and knowing um, that what's it the professional space. Just because like since he has played in tournaments before, he knows a little bit more about this than I do. But yeah.
Yeah, for the folks listening at home, I'm a toxic TCG player. Like I'm super competitive, but also at the same time, like I don't be winning games like that. I definitely just love the competitive aspect of like Pokemon. And I've been following a bunch of the Pokemon regionals and the Pokemon International Championships and like Worlds for the last like maybe year or so. Um, so the current large scale event that's going on right now is EUIC 2025 that's happening in London, or the European International Championship. Um, and there's a total of 3,353 players or different decks on day one. So the meta share for that day is 15.7% Dragapult EX with Badu, which is the new meta staple right now, along with Dusk Noir and Dusclops. Followed behind that is 12.3% Gardevoir EX with Monkey Dory. My personal favorite, I haven't played the deck yet and haven't played against it, is Archaludon EX with Origin Form Dialga at 11.7%. Miraidon at 9.7%, which is no surprise. Miraidon's been resurfacing again lately. Lugia V Star with Archeops is at 8.2%. And surprisingly, making a comeback too is Cloth Terapagos at 4.1%. So this is on day one. And then on the conversion, after asymmetrical top cut, there's a total of 360 decks that made it to day two. 17.8% is no surprise Dragapult. Gardevoir was at 16.4% for day two. Archaludon and Dialga at 11.9% at day two, and 11.1% for Miraidon. So the same top four decks made it into day two, which is awesome. And then surprisingly, Goldango EX, which didn't even appear in the meta share for day one, appeared in day two at 8.3%, and Terapagos Cloth at 5.3%. So the conversion rate was really interesting. I was hoping to see more Raging Bolt, at least in the lower tier of like day one at least, because regardless of like whatever everybody's playing, like Gardevoir and Dragapult are definitely going to be the top decks right now. Usually Raging Bolt kind of sneaks in there at like maybe 3 or 4%. So it's really interesting to see out of the 3,000 plus decks that have been playing that they didn't make it on there. But I'm not surprised about the top three decks that have been played so far: Dragapult,
Mm.
Gardevoir, and Archaludon, Dialga. And after playing nine rounds of Swiss, and then the top eight cuts today. Tomorrow's going to be which is Sunday, day three. The championship round is going to be between surprisingly Dragapult versus Cloth Terapagos. So Dragapult's going to be piloted by Natalie Miller from Australia. They have a 13-1-1 record, which is awesome. And then Cloth Terapagos is going to be piloted by Ryuki Okada from Japan, and they also have a 13-1-1 record as well.
Oh wow! So what we're looking at is basically like the top deck or most played deck being in the finals, whichever one most likely predicted, and then the lowest played deck or something that's like kind of like even just like just not up there is making it to the finals, which is one of the things that I've enjoyed about Pokemon. That like yes, um, meta decks are called meta for a reason, but if you're able to
Mhm.
find some sort of like hidden mechanic or some sort of tweak that works for you that just throws people off, you could definitely make it pretty far into tournaments. And like
Yeah.
you said, Adrian, like as far as like competitive goes, with Pokemon decks, like you can make it as cheap as you want to be able to enter a tournament. Like I think I remember last year how there was like a tournament on the East Coast. I forget which one. Where it said that the winner of that tournament like only spent like $80 on their deck, which was like crazy. Something to that effect. Um, but if you were to take a bet on the over under of Dragapult versus the Terapagos, which one would you take?
Honestly, I feel like as much as Dragapult and the Dusk Noir with Badu is best deck in format at the moment. Um, I feel like Cloth has way more options to work with, just because like something that I learned today while watching the stream is that um it has ways to get around Pheasantipity, which everybody's playing, especially for Dragapult 2. They can rely on Pheasantipity a lot because they expect some of their little creatures to get knocked out pretty easily, because they
Mm-hmm.
do run counter catcher, so it's always good to be behind in the prize race from time to time when playing Dragapult. And then with the poison coming into effect from what should I call it, from Radiant Sneasler and Brute Bonnet and stuff like that, they it gets around that Pheasant Dip because you're not getting knocked out by an attack. You're getting knocked out during Pokemon checkup. So I think that's a really interesting mechanic that kind of takes away one of their
Mm.
draw engines for Dragapult. And also it's Dragapult going against a bunch of single prizers, but these single prizers aren't 60 below or 70 below. They're like usually like 100 something in HP. So you can't really lose out to Phantom Dive that easily with the 60 damage counters. But at the same time, Dragapult EX does spread damage really well. One of the casters, I forgot what her name was, but it's the lady with the green hair, was making the comment that like Dragapult is the new Gardevoir EX of or Gardevoir of this like format, where they essentially do the same thing. Like being able to spread damage and moving around damage counters is really, really, vital in this kind of format. It makes your
Hmm.
opponent think, but you also have to be really good at math in order to really play the deck to the best of its ability. But overall, like I want to say, like Cloth will take it, especially because seeing the way that Ryuki was playing the deck today, in some of the matches, he pilots that deck really well, and then he was able to knock somebody or knock out a small Pokemon with a Badoo, which is very very
What?
unheard of. Yeah, it's the combination with the with Poison, Radiant Sneasler, and Brute Bonnet. It was able to knock out a Gimme Ghoul. It knocked out a Gimme Ghoul, and it item lock. So to item lock and also knock out a Pokemon on like turn 2 or turn 3 when doing that is pretty cool. So
Wow,
I'll
that's
probably give it to
wild.
Cloth. I'll give it to Cloth Terapagos. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'll admit I haven't been familiar enough to know the Cloth Terapagos deck to be able to speak on it. How does the Terapagos come into play when it comes? Because like I'm very familiar with Cloth because Cloth was played with Snorlax as like a block mechanic to be able to just kind of like slowly whittle down your opponent while like allowing them to basically not do anything. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like how does Cloth play with Terapagos? Because I thought the whole point of Terapagos is that you have area zero under depth, so you'd be able to have more on your bench, so you'd be able to have a stronger attack with Terapagos being the main attacker. So how does Cloth synergize with that?
So Cloth is your main attacker because it's a single price Pokemon. And you're gonna want to prioritize attacking with that too because it's gonna be poisoned, and when it's poisoned, it gains like a certain amount of attack
Yeah.
for a low energy cost. I think you attach DTE double turbo energy onto the cloth, and then you attach binding mochi as well. And then while it's poisoned or has any kind of status affliction on it, it gains that extra attack when you're able to do so. And then you have your Terapagos as your backup attacker. You obviously use the what is it, unified beatdown when you have like a full bench, but it's not necessarily your main attacker. It's really just there to unlock area zero. That's just my
Mm,
opinion because the times that I've played against Cloth Terapagos, I always get my ass pushed in by Cloth. Yeah, and it just opens up more options for you. Just having that bench filled, and then being able to take away your two prizers if they do take out your area zero as well. And just leaving a bunch of like your single like creatures like Radiant Sneasler again, and like your Cloths and your Brute Bonnets, like having those single prizers too, and being able to eliminate all your two prizers once that goes away, like the area zero is also really beneficial. But that's pretty much how it works. It's just a toolbox deck, and you're just swinging with single prizers for the main attack.
got it. Understood. So it's more like a Cloth deck that just happens to have Terapagos in it.
Yeah, that's exactly what they said on stream too. It's like it's not necessarily Terapagos. Terapagos is in there, but your main attacks are going to revolve around Cloth.
Yeah, because like the reason why I had that frame of mindset, because you know how it's like Chin Pao Baxcalibur deck, where Baxcalibur's like
Mm-hmm.
whole point is to be able to like speed up Chin Pao, so you'll be able to do like one hit KOs for the round. But okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So all right. As far as for like TCG, I know you and I play TCG live like quite a bit. Um, and you've even gotten like Arceus ranking, which is crazy. Like for like one set recently. I tried catching up to you, but I also have a baby, so there's only so much games I can play.
That's
you
no
know,
excuse. No, I'm kidding.
I think I was
Just
able
kidding.
to get up to like Deoxys level, and that was like no Victini. I was able to get up to like Victini ranking before the that ranking set ended. But anyways, what deck were you playing? What deck are you playing now? If it's different, like just wanted to talk a little bit more about TCG Live.
Well, like first of all, like right now, TCG Live is like way easier to play on the rank system versus like how it was like a couple months ago because they really dumbed down the system to where you can get to like RCS rank in a matter of like a couple days. That's the only way I got there. So I'm not that great of a player, first of all. But the current deck that I'm playing right now, I am playing Dragapult. I have it somewhat built in real life, so I'm just testing it before my next League Cup, which is on March 2nd. If I'm comfortable enough with Dragapult, then I'll probably play it in that cup. But I've had the Dragapult cards for like the last like maybe 6 months or so. Like I remember when they first came out, back around LA regionals, not too long ago. I picked up the cards. Damien gave me a Dragapult, so I'm still using that to this day. So shout out to Damien. But that's the one deck that I've been using, and then my default, I always go back to Raging Bolt. If I ever want to just kind of grind up the ladder and get the currency up in that game. So I always default back to Raging Bolt, but Dragon Bolt's like my current favorite right now. But I definitely suck at the math. Being able to use Dusk Noir and Dusclops at the right time in
Mm.
tandem with Phantom Dive has been really hard. So, but I did get a 6 prize swing today, which is pretty cool.
That's crazy. A six price swing.
Yeah.
That's I often play like different decks to kind of just like get a feel for like what the opponent's like mindset is. Like that's mainly why I play TCG. So like be like, okay, I'll play this deck so that way I know what my opponent's looking for. So that way when I play against it, I could just like know like certain things or certain stages and how to counteract it and things like that. For me, I love playing Lugia. Lugia is like my fan favorite right now, but I'm really sad that it's rotating out like soon. So I've actually been playing this deck where it's Chin Pao with Greninja and Baxcalibur. So it's like a three-way synergy. It's been interesting, and I think I like it. I saw this deck list originally on YouTube where it was like Chin Pao, Baxcalibur, Greninja EX, and then you had like a random like Pidgeot EX also in there. So you had like two like abilities to be able to search for cards in your deck. That way you can try to speed things up with like getting the Excalibur and the Chimpow setup for like one hit KOs. But I found that it was really restrictive because I relied heavily on like rare candy for like trying to get either a Pidgeot setup, Greninja EX setup, or the Excalibur setup. So I actually trimmed it down where I took out the Pidgeot EX entirely, and I'll just kind of like whichever I draw into, I'll lean into like a Greninja or I'll lean into um, the Chin Pao. And I think that it's been working well for me because one, everyone hates Pikachu, right? And like Greninja does like an easy like 340 with like one energy because of like the Shinobi Blade. But also uh, it does really well against Iron Thorns and Iron Hands. And it doesn't have Greninja doesn't have an ability, so I could just be able to swing no problem. Um, and then if I need to do any like one hit KOs, then I could just like switch out and switch over to the Chin Pao. It doesn't. There's still some kinks I have to work out with, but I really do think that that'll be my new deck going into like
Mm-hmm.
2025 later and beyond until like some other
Mm-hmm.
stuff rotate out.
Yeah, with so you're playing Chempao EX with Baxcalibur, with Pidgeot EX, with Greninja EX.
No Pidgeot EX. That part I took out.
Okay.
The Pidgeot
Okay, I was
EX
gonna
was
say that's a lot
original.
of stage twos in one deck.
It's a lot of it felt like a lot of stage twos. I played that original deck like about for like 10 games,
Mhm.
and I just found like I was just like always chasing for rare candy, and I was just like it was just too much figuring out to try to like
What's your
get
ace spec
certain
in it?
things. Yeah, so I just kind of like simplified it a little bit, and so far it's
Yeah.
been working. So I like it.
What's your ace spec in it?
My ace spec is unfair stamp.
You're using unfair stamp in that? Have you tried
Yeah,
Sparkling Crystal?
sparkling crystal. It's where if it's a
It's a tool
oh,
card.
man, I forget this.
Tool card ace spec, searchable by Arvin. If you attach it to Terra Pokemon,
To the Terra Pokemon, it's like one less energy to use for your attacks.
yeah. So if you attach it to Greninja, it's for free.
I did not think about that because I do have energy restrictions sometimes with being able to search. I mean, like I have some energy search engines in there. Actually, the deck only runs one earthing.
One Earthen Vessel.
Huh. Yeah, I might have to try
I have
that
to look
out
up Greninja EX.
because
Yeah, it unlocks your Shinobi Blade, and then yeah, just keep attaching for Mirage Barrage to get that damage spread out there too.
yeah,
399. This thing's 399 now. Oh.
yeah, the alt art is crazy. It's so I remember when it first came out when Adrian and I were playing in the LA regional tournament like last year. Twilight Masquerade just came out. Everyone was chasing that Greninja EX card, and at that point, the market was only like $100 for the card. Now it sparks to like 300, 400, and that's ungraded. So imagine if you get like a grade like 9 or 10 by grading it. It's crazy. Like the whole market right now in general is like wild to see how much prices are being driven up just from prismatic evolutions, making all the other products so scarce, and all these scalpers just trying to come in and just buy whatever products they can because they know Pokemon's really hot right now. Everyone's getting FOMO, so yeah, it's been rough out there for a lot of people to get any product at a
I hate
reasonable price.
collectors.
Yeah,
I hate
collectors.
collectors with a passion. Unless I know you. Like shout out to Jimmy. I love you, Jimmy.
We love you, Jimmy. By the way, official sponsor of our first podcast episode. We got some prismatic ETBs from Jimmy. Thank you, Jimmy.
All right, and we'll be
He can
picking
give
one
us.
lucky winner to receive that box. No, I'm kidding.
Actually, I was thinking about like how later on, if we do get enough of an audience, we can start doing giveaways. So, like, subscribe,
Stay tuned for
stay
more.
tuned.
And it's all
So,
it's all provided by Damien because I'm poor as fuck. Unless I
uh,
win packs.
we'll try to like pull some stuff from tournaments. But yeah, anyways. Um, so on this like the topic of like just like collectors and just all that stuff, I think I'll segue us into like this next topic where, you know, part of the fun of Pokemon is collecting the trading cards. And just want to talk about like general news right now about how the market's going. Prismatic evolutions, hot set right now, obviously, because everyone's trying to chase the alternate secret illustration rares for all of the evolutions. Umbreon right now being the hottest, where I think ungraded, it's like 600, 700, and then if you get like a PSA 9 or 10, shoots up to like 17 now. Before I had it on my notes saying it was like 1500, now it's 17, which is crazy.
As of right
So
now, did it just
that
shoot up?
I think it did. Pretty sure. Let's see.
Like Umbreon's okay. Like it's great artwork, but I just don't see the appeal. Like if I pulled it, I'd be really happy. Like I wouldn't be mad at it. But I
I
just don't understand like why Umbreon is the most expensive out of all of them.
I think it's because like the nostalgia factor. I think a lot of people, as far as like who are into Pokemon right now, are our age, 30s, like late 20s, which means that most people play Pokemon first generation, second generation, third generation. It's that nostalgia factor. And one of the key things in the Johto region is the fact that you get to see or evolve your Eevee into an Umbreon or an Espeon for the first time without using any of the evolution stones. And so I think like there's the nostalgia there for people who are tied to those evolutions in general. I mean, it's a very popular Pokemon. It's very easily understood. And then two, historically in the collector space, because it's like one of the more beloved Pokemon, like Charizard, like Mewtwo, like Mew, um, the resale value just drives the price up. So the fact that they did the evolutions in the Prismatic Evolutions set, people already know that it's gonna get a lot of money. So that's the reason why the price drove up so fast, is because not necessarily because this artwork. I mean, like, yes, this artwork is great, but it's more so like they know historically, based on past sets, it's gonna do well in the market. You're gonna be able to make a pretty penny off of it. Um, I myself pulled the Japanese version.
Mm-hmm. Good job.
I was
The
super
rich
stoked
get
on that.
richer.
It was that was honestly my best pull. My wife recorded my reaction. It was like a silent scream, and like I didn't know what to do with myself, so I just like did like this weird like pump thing, And
Editor, put in the clip of him dancing, pulling that card.
it was literally first pack Magic. I the first pack of Terrasto Festival that I opened, it had it, and I was just like, "That's it. I'm done. That's the best luck I'm gonna have pulling a card." So,
How much is the Japanese one going for?
if Japanese one ungraded is going for like 300s, and then if you get a
Okay.
PSA like 9 or 10, then it's going up for like 6, 7.
All right, I'll throw in something fun. Explain PSA to me and grading, because honestly, like I see slab collectors. I don't understand slab collecting. Like to my knowledge, I only know that like PSA grading or just grading in general has to do with like how centered the card is.
That's
But
one of the
that's pretty much
categories.
it. Just
That's
that's one
one
of the categories.
that is one of the categories. So like I am by no means an expert. I am just getting into this myself, mainly because it's scratching that same itch in my brain as when I used to flip sneakers. So like I think I'm getting like that same like euphoria feeling from flipping sneakers as I am like flipping. Granted, I'm not chasing cards like how some of these other people are just like fighting people in Costco for product. Like it's more like if I pull it, great, then I'll try to flip it. If I have it in my binder, great, then I'll just try to see if I can get it graded so that way I could be able to flip it later. I'm not like out here trying to like pull cards for flipping money for blah blah blah. But yeah. Anyways, that's besides the point. I'm very new to this, so if you happen to go through the grading system yourself or have any uh, knowledge or insight that you want to give us, please feel free to drop a comment, share a like, shoot us a text message, respond to our Instagram story, what have you. The categories that go into grading cards, it's centering is one of them, where they use a tool to see like how the card is cut as far as like the picture being centered. Another thing is apparently like corners are very important for a Pokemon card or for any card grading in general. Like if you see like a little white speck, like a corner of a card, which is often from like people like pulling it out of the pack, putting it into like a Dragon Shield sleeve, which they highly recommend don't doing because if it is a card that you plan on keeping and collecting, one, because it's such a tight fit, like it's like a really fitted sleeve, it will be hard for you to pull that card out without nicking it. And two, because it's a tight fit and the way that the holographics are included or also put onto the card, over time it will cause the card to bend and to crease, like bow. And what they want, they're grading it based off of like literally like also like flatness, like just like the pristineness of how the card is originally intended and printed and cut. Um, and I think another thing that they're looking for on the card is like scratches, as well as like if there was any intentional means to try to like fake coloring it in. Like they look for that stuff too. But I've seen people like have videos on how you can restore cards to get a better grading so that way you can get more money out of it. Um, I the way that I had my cards graded, which I'm actually still waiting on getting it back. I actually went to a card shop here locally where basically you pay them a service fee and they'll send in the cards for you to get it graded. Like they'll do all the processing for you because they're a partner of like PSA. They said it could take 3 to 4 months for you to get your graded cards back. And even then, it's kind of like it depends on the person who's grading your cards because like they basically receive like shipments of like stacks of cards that they want to grade. And like let's say right next to your shipment is like just for an example, 3 different packs all containing Shohei Otani cards. They're gonna grade the Shohei Otani cards first because it's more popular and
They
it's
hold more
much
value, yeah.
more value there, you know. And apparently there's like different tiers of like how much money you pay per card based off of like you know uh, like how much money the grading would give the card value. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it versus just centering. But that's exactly the reason why people do it because like the difference between a grade 9 and a grade 10 could be like hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. So depending on the card that you're submitting.
Sounds complicated. If you're a slab collector, learn how to play the fucking game.
I have no reservations about that because I feel like you need if you're going to be collecting something, I feel like you should know like the sentimental value to it. I feel like that's why, but also sometimes people just buy stuff just really weird of buying it. Like there's a card right now. Okay, well, let me say this. Because of how the market is like super scarce right now with cards, there's a Magikarp card that is super popular, um, which
Which one
I
is it?
had and I really wish I kept. But I remember I sold it for like $80 when it first came out, and I was like, "Cool, I got $80 for a card that I pulled out of a booster pack." And now, graded, it's worth 1,000. It's just like
Which
extra.
Magikarp is this?
It is the one from Paldea Evolved.
Oh, this one.
Magikarp 203/193. Yeah.
It's the one with the black background.
Yeah. If you look in the upper right corner of that card, you
Yeah.
actually see a Gyarados in the background.
Oh yeah, yeah. I see it right there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Magikarp 203/193. So like that card's been super popular. Ungraded, it's now $245. And like I said, I sold it to my friend's card shop for like $80.
Hey, at least you made money off of it. I pulled the SIR Squirtle out of Stellar Crown and gave it to my fiance's tattoo artist for free. And then I looked up the price later and it was $50. I was like, well, that's his tip.
Mm-hmm. But
That's a beautiful card, by the way, too.
yeah. But now there's like a drowsy card um, that is going for just as much. It's drowsy 210/198. It's starting to climb up there. Back in November, it was only $13, and then now it's showing it spiking up to like $80, $70 ish, and that's ungraded. Like if you get it like a, and then I like was reading reviews specifically for this set because the drowsy that this came from is the Scarlet and Violet base set. So like the first base set one. Um, that set is notoriously known for having really shitty centering. Like
Hmm.
most of the cards have really bad centering. So the drowsies who get like a perfect 10 from PSA on this have been selling for like $700, like between the $600 to $700 range. Like so, collector space doesn't make sense to me yet.
But my whole thing is like with the centering, can you actually see the difference with the naked eye? Unless
No,
like you're super trained on it, you know? That's like my whole thing. It's like nobody's gonna notice, in my opinion.
I don't think so. Like I feel like people have to use a tool to see how centered it is. I feel like I can't tell by the naked eye, like on how well it's like on how well it's laid out.
Again, if you only collect slabs and you're only getting graded, learn how to play the fucking game.
Word.
I'm a hater, sorry. It's because I can't pull shit. You should see my TCG pocket pulls. It's fucking ass. So I get nothing.
All right. Um, well, like, I think the most expensive card that ever got sold and graded is like, I think you said it was Logan Paul has it, right? It's that Pikachu card.
Yeah, Logan Paul's bitch ass wears it around his neck when he goes to the ring. And it's
Did
in
you
a slab too.
did you hear the story about the Charizard that he got?
Which one?
It's the base set Charizard. I think it was
Shadowless?
I forget. But did you hear the
If
story
it's
about
if shadowless, yeah.
did you hear how so basically there was a different guy who actually owns that card previously. He actually owns like multiple Charizards base sets. Like but most of them are like grade 9. He never got a grade 10. He always wanted a grade 10, but apparently Logan convinced this guy to like sell it to him. He took it out of the casing and resubmitted it, and then Logan got the grade 10.
Oh wow.
He was just like, "Oh, I hope that other guy is not like too hurt right now." But like, yeah. So if you see that Charizard being hung around his neck like the Pikachu, like that's the story behind that Charizard, that grade 10. Like
I
it's the
mean,
only grade 10 I think that's in existence.
I'm pretty sure it had to do something with like Logan Paul's status too. I'm pretty sure he went to PSA directly. They saw that Logan Paul was getting something graded and they're probably giving him like a little bit of a like a bias centering, saying, "Oh yeah, yeah, it is 10." That's just my
Yeah,
theory. I come up
could
with
be.
crazy conspiracy theories.
We'll get into conspiracy theories here on this podcast. I'm sure, like all about Pokemon stuff.
Back in August, during 2024 Worlds in Hawaii, they revealed the newest set that's going to be coming out in March. Actually, in a couple weeks, it should be coming out the second or third week of March, which is um, Journey Together, or Battle Partners, as it's called in Japan. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the first time we're going to be getting back um, partner Pokemon or trainer Pokemon. So, for example, we have N's Pokemon, N from the Black and White series. So it's going to feature his Zoroark. It's going to feature, I think, his Black Kyurem or something like that too. And then it's also going to feature my favorite Pokemon trainer, Iono.
I'm excited for the Iona
And
Belly Bolt.
yeah, yeah, Iono and her Pokemon are probably going to be is probably going to be like the next deck that I make. Just going back on like the TCG side of it, I think Iono's Pokemon and that archetype is going to be a hidden gem. The cards are definitely going to be super fucking expensive, and really sought after. Like that Voltorb, her Iono's Voltorb is has a really nice artwork just on its own as a common.
Mm.
But I'm really excited for that deck because it's like if you combine Raging Bolt with Miraidon, because it's another turbo deck. You can crush damage real easily. You can accelerate energy real easily using the Belly Bolt and then the Kilowattrel. And it comes with a new stadium as well that lets you grab lightning energy from the discard to your hand. I'm really excited for that deck. I think that's going to be the next deck that I main once the set does finally come out. So I'm really excited about Iono's Pokemon coming out as well. Glory of Team Rocket. I never had the original like Team Rocket cards from back in like the late '90s, early 2000s, with like the Dark Mewtwo's, the Dark Charizards, and stuff like that. Giovanni's Pokemon. But I'm pretty sure like this set is going to be nothing more than like Prismatic Evolution Part Two, where it's just going to be for people that want to collect. Is there going to be any like meta relevant cards out of it? I'm not too sure. I haven't looked into the set myself, but I doubt that it's going to be anything like that just because Team Rocket is stapled onto the name. Team Rocket has been a staple of like Pokemon nostalgia for like years. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like a lot of scalpers are just going to be going for that set just because of the Team Rocket name. But aside from that, I'm like really excited to see like partner Pokemon coming back into the game. Hop's Pokemon is supposed to be really good. That deck has been circulating online as well. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited for this Iono deck for sure. I'm going to be trying to get a hold of like all those singles as soon as possible.
Nice. I mean, like, I think that for collectors, this is going to be a great year. As much as we hate it, as much as we hate the prices being driven up and everything like that,
You don't hate
it's going to
collectors.
be
I
good
hate
for
collectors.
collectors. There's so, yeah, it's there's a lot on the docket where like if things are going to get released and things are just going to go just in their way of like just chasing stuff. So I feel like we're just at the tip of the iceberg of like um, the scarcity of Pokemon product. So if you've been listening so far, we appreciate you for tuning in and just hearing to just us ramble about Pokemon news and Pokemon stuff that we love. We'll have different topics as far as like going into like maybe like specific games that are coming out. There's the new Legends Z to A that's supposed to be releasing soon. We're having more news coming out. We'll try to. A large part of our conversation, as you can tell, is going to be about the trading card game as well as like collecting. But Adrian and I are just like big Pokemon fans in general. So if there's anything that you would like to hear us talk about, covering topics wise, please feel free to give us a like, comment, a suggestion, and if you can, share this with your friends for who like Pokemon and just want to be able to tune in on the conversation. We're just two guys just trying to have fun, and so if you guys want to partake in the fun and have a voice, please feel free to chime in. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Spotify. We'd appreciate it all, but I think that wraps it up for this episode. So, Adrian, anything you want to say before we go?
If you're a collector or a reseller, learn how to play the fucking game.
All right. Well, thank you for
I'm
tuning
just
in, and
kidding.
we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
Peace.